So it's been an eventful couple of days for fans of the One Piece live action, with 2 sets of cast reveals for the new characters for season 2, which will be covering the fan favorite saga, Alabasta. So as a One Piece fan myself that's finally nearly caught up with the series, I want to give my thoughts on the castings. So I want to talk about the most recent announcement, which features Callum Kerr as Smoker, Julia Raywald as Tashigi, Rob Coletti as Walpole, and Ty Ko as Dalton. And then yesterday's announcements were Clive Russell as Crocus, Werner Coaster as Dory, and Brendan Murray as Broggy. Sorry if I mispronounce any of those names, by the way. My reaction to this can basically be summed up by a tweet that I saw that I thought was perfect. Dog, this dude is unmatched at finding the exact same faces that Oda drew. Seriously, every single face in this casting, in some way, looks exactly like how I'd picture a live-action version of these characters to look. I mean, even in season 1, they were able to nail the look of the characters perfectly. I mean, how could you not see the main cast and go, yeah, I mean, that's the Straw Hats. It's impeccable. And so are these castings. So let's also talk about the first round of announcements that I missed out on earlier, which was David Dastmalchian as Mr. 3, Jazara Jaslyn as Miss Valentine, Cameras Johnson as Mr. 5, and Daniel Lasker as Mr. 9. And once again, great casting all around, especially David Dastmalchian, who you may recognize, and that's because he's known for playing Polka Dot Man in The Suicide Squad, you know, the good one by James Gunn. William Borden in Oppenheimer, and Peter de Vries, I believe, in Dune. I haven't seen Dune, so I don't know if that's, correct way to say it. But needless to say, amazing and talented, and that goes really for all of the casting. But while we can talk for days about how this bodes well for the actual quality of the performances, which it does, I think these castings potentially reveal what season 2 will be covering. Now, I want to say that for the rest of this video, there will strictly be no spoilers, so you don't have to worry about that besides the title of the arc names. Also, I will assume season 2 will be the same length as season 1, as we don't know the episode count for season 2, so these thoughts and opinions are assuming an 8-episode season 2 with 60-minute length, generally speaking, but we'll talk more about that later. So with the castings of the characters Mr. 3, Mr. 5, Mr. 9, and Miss Valentine, these characters are introduced very early on into the Alabasta saga, meaning that I think they'll probably cover the first 2 arcs in their entirety, as there are only 2 volumes across 2 arcs, and that is Reverse Mountain and Whiskey Peak. I think Reverse Mountain is a given and is a necessary arc because they have to cover that, because until this very day, it's one of the most relevant arcs in the series for one reason, which, well, you'll see once we get there. Plus, as well, I think Reverse Mountain would be a terrific first episode for the season, and then they can quickly move on, as they could easily adapt that arc in less than an episode without many changes, which beautifully leads us into Whiskey Peak, and this arc is important for the set of castings here and points towards this arc being another shoe-in for season 2. And much like Reverse Mountain, I think they could easily get away with doing 1 episode or even less, but I think they may do around 2 episodes on it, though Whiskey Peak isn't nearly as relevant to the entirety of One Piece like Reverse Mountain is, outside of a couple moments here and there, so I could see them easily just spending 1 episode if they really wanted to, because the rest of the arc has very long arcs relatively compared to the East Blue Saga, which is what season 1 covered. Now, you probably have already been yelling at your screen, what about Loguetown? Well, I think we're going to be getting that for sure because of the second round of castings that I was talking about. Smoker and Tashigi being announced screams that they'll finally be adapting the final arc of the previous saga in East Blue, Loguetown. This is also an extremely important arc in One Piece, and so I think it's probably going to be your opening in episode 1 along with Reverse Mountain. I think they could easily combine these 2 arcs really well. It's also even more necessary than Reverse Mountain, so this is absolutely happening, obviously, and Tashigi and Smoker being in the cast, well, further proves that point. Now, Walpole and Dalton point toward a shoe-in for Drum Island being adapted, which, there is a lot of discussion around the castings regarding this arc, and it's one that many people are mostly looking forward to besides the Alabasta arc. It's pretty much all but confirmed at this point that legendary and generational actress Jamie Lee Curtis will be playing Dr. Kuroha, who is a huge fan favorite character for fans of both the manga and anime of One Piece, and she even even said herself that she is a huge fan of the series and wants to play the character. And with all of the teasing that's been done regarding her involvement in the series, to me this is just a shoo-in. It all but confirms Jamie Lee Curtis as Dr. Kuroha in my eyes. Now, if you are a viewer of the English dub for One Piece, many will know that another generational talent in that field of work, Brina Palencia, who provides the voice for Tony Chopper, as well as, voices for like Holo the Wise Wolf and Spice and Wolf, Ciel and Black Butler, and oh my god, there's just so many voices that she's done. There's too many to list here. But there is a theory going around that she could return to reprise her role as Chopper, as she is close friends with Jamie Lee Curtis and maybe helped her get in touch with the crew for the live action, which we know is true because she was sent figures of the characters by the crew. Real quick, you sexy beasts, I'm gonna give you the deets on some pre-release info. Tomorrow at 3 p.m. EST, Gamer Subs are dropping Kaho's Guilty Pleasure in collaboration with Kabo Shibuya. If you know, you know. Don't Google her kids, by the way. And the Scientist Waifu cups and merch. Use code CTactics, get 10% off any of these, and they're dropping tomorrow at 3 p.m. So you best show up. Thank you to Gamer Subs for being a partner. Now, as for the Alabasta Arc, that's a given, as it's the longest arc in One Piece at this point in the story, and is most integral to future arcs and sets up a lot of world building and scope for the series. It's also the first arc in One Piece that truly encompasses, in my opinion, One Piece at its finest. So if we are getting a season 2 with more episodes, it will most likely be due to the sheer mammoth length of this arc, clocking in at over 63 chapters, which FYI is multiple times longer than most 24 episode seasons from anime like Attack on Titan as an example. That being said, we are still waiting for cast announcements that represent that final arc, which I imagine is probably coming very soon, or at the time you're watching this may already be out, which we will be covering, so make sure to subscribe and drop a like on the video. Now, we gotta get into the elephant in the room now. We gotta talk about it. Will they or won't they cover Little Garden? Well, this arc is a peculiar one, as due to, let's say, the sheer scale of this arc, I honestly thought they wouldn't cover the arc. But with the castings announced for Dory and Bragi, I don't know. I didn't know what to expect, but I'm just so excited because they could easily have went, nah, this is too much for us. We can't adapt it. But the fact they're actually tackling it and adapting every arc in the Alabasta saga feels almost too good to be true. But I'm glad they're actually going through with a full adaptation, which makes me very skeptical for this season just being 8 episodes. So let me break down in detail why I think it may possibly be longer than that. Loguetown and Reverse Mountain are both 5 chapters each. Whiskey Peak is just 9 chapters, but Little Garden, Drum Island, and Alabasta are 15, 25, and 63 chapters respectively. Now, I'm very skeptical of this just being another 8 episode season. And I think Drum Island and Alabasta alone will take up way more than just 2 episodes for their arcs like the average arc of season 1 had, which was generally 2 episodes for each arc, give or take. But we'll just have to see. What do you guys think about the casting announcement? How long do you think the season is going to be? Drop it down in the comments below. And soon you'll be seeing a return to One Piece content on this channel, so get hyped. Thanks everyone for watching. Bye-bye.